My boyfriend's name is Stef and he's 19 years old. He will be 20 on June 20th of this year. Stef is from Toronto, Canada, and I'm from a really small town in Michigan called Buchanan, but I currently live in Greenville, South Carolina. We actually met through a blogging website. I'd run a pretty decent blog for a few years, and we had a mutual follower who had reblogged something of mine or made a post about something, and he ended up seeing that and going to my blog, and that's kind of how it started. And we talked through messages on there for a while before going to Facebook and then to Skype and then in person. Stef and I have been together for, it'll be 3 years this June 19th. The first time that Stef and I met in person was his senior year of high school. I want to say it was 2012 or around there, and it was a year after we'd been talking and getting to know one another. And his senior prom was coming up, and he kept talking about it, and I was getting really jealous, and I really wanted to go. I was homeschooled, so I'd never really had that type of experience before. And I knew that, all the girls were going to be going on their dates, and I just wanted to experience something like that. So I ended up talking about it with my mom, just kind of lamenting to her about my feelings, and I was like, I'm really frustrated about it. And she ended up saying to me, she's like, well, what if you could go? And I said, you're funny, and I basically just laughed it off through my tears. And she said, no, I'm being serious. And while this conversation was happening, we were on Skype with my brother, who ended up saying to me, he's like, no, she's serious, like, what if you actually really could go? What if we made it happen? I was like, what are you talking about? He said, what if I paid for half of the expenses, and what if mom and dad paid for the other half? And I immediately started freaking out, of course, and was just like, are you serious? Oh my god. And my mom was like, yeah, I would have to talk about it with his family, but if everything checks out, you can totally go. And I texted Stef right away, and he was in this important meeting, and I felt really bad for interrupting, but I was just like, babe, I think I can go to your prom, and like, I think I can come and see you for the first time. And so he got super excited, like tearful, we were both really happy after waiting a year to be with each other. And so that's exactly what happened. We looked up tickets and booked something, and in June I was on my way to meet him. And I remember just feeling so nervous and excited that day, and on the plane, I was tracking that little screen with the plane just moving from my country to his, and just gripping the plane armrests or whatever they're called, and just being, oh my god, we're not moving fast enough, right? And so I get off the plane, and long story short, they ended up holding me in interrogation because they didn't believe that my story checked out, that I was really going to meet this guy, and it didn't help that my passport was going to expire soon. But I walk out into the waiting room, and I see him standing there with this big bouquet of flowers, and just the biggest smile ever just went across my face, and I was like, oh my god, it's you! And he looked so nervous, and I felt so bad, but it was really cute. I ran up and hugged him, and people always ask me, was it awkward, was it weird? And honestly, it wasn't, because even though we weren't together for a year, we got to know each other so well that it felt like every day I was just spending another day with my best friend, even though it wasn't in person. So yeah, from that moment on, that weekend at prom and staying at his family's house was amazing, and I will forever remember it. We managed to stay together through, honestly, just a lot of communication. We've Skyped pretty much every night for the past 2.5 years, and it really is about trust and love and honesty, because without those things you really can't have the basis for a good relationship, especially when you're long distance. It's a lot harder to maintain it. I'd have to say the most attractive thing about him, personality-wise, would have to be, well, okay, a few things, but the biggest things would be his patience, because I don't have a lot of it, and he needs a lot of it with me, and then his kindness as well. He's always been very sweet, and it doesn't really matter to who, not just me. The best date that we have ever been on would have to be, we went out to a really fancy restaurant in my city, in Greenville, and he took me out, and it was this extremely upscale restaurant. We sat under a deck with twinkling lights and watched the sunset, and it ended up coming out to like $150 bill. It was a really nice place, and it was really special. upset, I like to kind of be reserved a little bit and then talk about it a little bit later. And he's very persistent in asking, what's wrong? Are you sure? Are you okay? Are you fine? I know you're not. Don't lie to me. And it bugs the fire out of me. And then something that I do that annoys him would honestly probably have to be the same thing. It drives him crazy when I'm really stubborn and closed off.